I'll start sharing my screen and begin the introductions. So warm welcome to all participants attending this curtain raiser event of the SAREP Partnership Fund's first request for applications. We are going to share a lot of information on the fund and what it is about. Here are some housekeeping announcements. There will be no Q&A session as a different process and route is in place to address RFA-related queries. I request speakers to kindly keep their cameras on for a photo opportunity, and this webinar is being recorded. I'm glad to see the range and magnitude of participation today, as this is an important event with high-level participation from the USAID as well as RTI International. I'm delighted to introduce our eminent speakers for today. Please welcome John Smith-Sreen, Director, Indo-Pacific Office, USAID India; Anurag Mishra, Senior Clean Energy Specialist at USAID India. We also have with us Nicole Barnes, Senior Vice President, International Development Group at RTI International. We have with us Dr. Gaurav Bhatiani, Chief of Party, SAREP, and Hira, Director, Finance and Grants at SAREP. Now, without much ado, I will invite Nicole Barnes for the welcome address. I'll stop sharing my screen for now.
Great. Thank you so much. And I promise I'll be brief. I am certainly not the main event today, but I really want to say a sincere welcome to everyone who's able to join us here today. It's really exciting to see, my gosh, we're at over 120 participants. And I think that just shows what great enthusiasm there is for the SAREP Partnership Fund. And I look forward to hearing more about it and seeing, frankly, the applications that come in, because this is the essence of innovation. And I know we have a lot of great ideas in everyone collectively here and all of our different partners across the region. So I really look forward to hearing more. I'd like to start out with a very quick formal introduction of several of our speakers today. One is John Smith-Sreen, who's here from USAID India, and he is the director of the Indo-Pacific office. So welcome, John. I'd also like to introduce Anurag Mishra, who's the Senior Clean Energy Specialist at USAID India, and she's the Contracting Officer's Representative, or the COR, for the program. And our alternate COR is Apurva Chaturvedi, who's also here today. Welcome. And then I'd also like to introduce Manali Zaya Hazara, the Regional Energy Manager and Senior Clean Energy Specialist as well. So thank you very much for all of our USAID participants and partners, because it's been wonderful working with you, and we look forward to even closer continued partnership going forward. And you'll be hearing more from our USAID colleagues shortly. And last but not least, I wanted to introduce our colleagues, of everyone who's here from the now 126 participants. I think it just shows what interest there is in the program, and we look forward to making this partnership fund as accessible and responsive as possible. So I look forward to diving into these details with everyone here today. And I want to also thank truly last but not least, the SAREP team, who has worked very hard to pull this event together. It's been a breakneck program since its inception earlier this year in difficult implementation times. And I really appreciate everyone's hard work for making this happen today. This is our first launch of the SAREP Partnership Program, or the Partnership Fund, and we're really seeking new and innovative partners, which our colleagues are going to talk about more. I don't have to tell anyone who's here on this call about the importance of South Asia, both for its own never-ending economic rise and the importance between the US government and the region. And I know John's going to speak more about this shortly. And I just want to share from a personal perspective and an organizational perspective that importance is also true here at RTI. Speaking for myself, I've been working and traveling in India and the region for 20 years now. I am starting feeling like I'm dating myself, to quote John and I from our pre-panelist tech chat, but it's true. And I think it's a wonderful region with incredible opportunities, challenges like any region in the world, but also tremendous opportunities. And that's what we really want to harness here through the SAREP Partnership Fund. What I also really like about it being a research institute, which is what RTI is, one that happens to have a subsidiary in India, is that being a research institute, we also self-fund a lot of our own research, which allows us to try to stay ahead of competing technical, cutting edge issues, and trying to make sure that we're experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't, whether it's in clean energy, whether it's in all kinds of survey research, international education, health. We work in a wide variety of areas. And I say that just to kind of infuse the notion that innovation and trying new things and seeing what works is really critical to our core DNA. And I'm really happy that we can see that through the SAREP program as well. So once again, I welcome everyone to this curtain raising event, and I encourage everyone to put your best efforts forward when you do the first round of applications. And if you don't get through the first round, please don't be discouraged. That's why we have multiple rounds, as you'll be hearing later on. And it takes time, and you build off different ideas, and that's part of the joy of innovation. So last but not least, I want to also say best wishes to everyone for a healthy and prosperous 2022. It sure has been a crazy 2021 on that front, no matter where you are calling in from today. So let's hope 2022 is a bit better. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Nicole, for your encouraging words and a lot of inspiration, I think, to all the participants over here. A lot of encouragement to everybody who wants to apply for this partnership fund. Thank you so much. And may I now request all the speakers, including Hira, Apuva, everyone, to please put their cameras on for a photo opportunity. May I please request my colleague Abira to help us with this photo opportunity, please? Okay. So now I think we can move forward. Thank you, speakers. And may I now invite John Smith-Reen from USAID India for the keynote address.
Thanks very much, Nindya. And thanks, Nicole. Good to see you again after a few years since we were together in New Delhi. I wanted to share some comments about USAID's focus on clean energy, renewable energy, global climate change, but more broadly, US government interest in addressing climate change and mitigating some of the impacts. So if you look back over the current administration, it was literally within hours after taking office last January that President Biden signed an executive order recommitting the United States to what he defined as climate leadership and global climate action, and a return to the Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is, just as a reminder, this overarching global framework to prevent climate change, and it aims to help countries financially in their efforts to tackle climate change and its various impacts and ramifications. And the United States had actually helped shape the Paris Agreement under President Barack Obama's administration. So the recommitment of the United States to the Paris Agreement was welcome news to many of us who have been working on these issues for many, many years. It also, quite frankly, signaled a flurry of requests and ideas coming out of Washington, D.C. to those of us who are in the field. So, for example, our offices in USAID have received guidance that all of our new energy investments must support the transition to low carbon energy systems, and additional guidance that has come out more recently precludes our engagement on things like oil and gas and coal technologies. For us, it was a good thing in that we had already conceptualized SAREP and we're well on the way to launching it. So it was fortuitous in that respect. last April, President Biden hosted what was called the Virtual Leaders Climate Summit. This occurred on Earth Day. And during that summit, Prime Minister Modi and President Biden announced the India-US Climate and Clean Energy 2030 Partnership Agenda. And that agenda is made up of two tracks. One is called the Strategic Clean Energy Partnership, which has existed for a couple of years now and has been revitalized under the new partnership agenda. And then the second track was called the Climate Action and Finance Mobilization Dialogue. And each of these tracks is made up of various pillar working groups that are jointly led by co-chairs from India and the United States. This summit was also an opportunity to catalyze greater global support to address the climate crisis in preparation for COP26, this event which is just concluded. And in COP26, we saw major economies announcing revised 2030 Paris Agreement targets and engaging in global discussions on climate financing and the transition to a net zero carbon economy, discussions on innovation, discussions on job creation. India was very much central to those discussions and indeed announced some ambitious new targets during COP26, heavy emphasis on renewable energy, the new target of 500 gigawatts and half the nation's power coming from renewable energy by 2030. Over the years, my organization, USAID, has continued to partner with both public and private sector to mitigate climate change through a whole host of strategies, approaches, technologies, which focus on clean and renewable energy and on energy efficiency. And for me, returning to India to work on these issues 16 years after I left in 2006 has really been personally and professionally quite rewarding. I'm intrigued, but quite frankly, not surprised to see the tremendous progress that India has made with respect to clean energy and climate change. The economy continues to grow, technologies flow, and as Nicole said, opportunities abound. It's really a thrilling time to live and work in this beautiful country. And our colleagues in Washington have been quite busy under President Biden's administration. They're calling for bold new ideas to address climate change. And they recognize that India has a long history of successful partnership with the United States across many sectors, including energy. And that's where the South Asia Regional Energy Partnership, SAREP, comes in. SAREP represents USAID India's flagship activity to promote partnerships that will allow us all to further the objectives under the India-US Climate and Clean Energy 2030 Partnership Agenda. And SAREP will assist India in realizing these new ambitious renewable energy targets. It will promote opportunities for the private sector to engage. It will promote greater regional cooperation. And USAID's repertoire of regional programs has been growing. In Nepal, recently Urja has been launched. In Bangladesh, where I last worked, a new activity called Badge. In Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan Energy Partnership. All of this has come together under what the umbrella initiative known as Enhancing Development and Growth Through Energy, or Asia Edge. Some of you may have heard of that construct. And this furthers the US vision for a free and open Indo-Pacific, really with the end of ensuring greater peace and stability and growing prosperity throughout the region. Last month, India reached a new milestone, 150 gigawatts of clean energy deployment. This is a key milestone toward reaching its new target of 500 gigawatts by 2030. But Bangladesh also has big plans to scale up solar energy to 40 gigawatts and wind energy to 30 gigawatts, and to meet 50% of the country's electricity demand through renewable energy by 2041. Sri Lanka targets a 70% renewable energy goal by 2030. Regional cooperation is also manifesting through various institutions, and the United States is now a member of the International Solar Alliance, the One Sun, One World, One Grid. President Modi's vision has laid out this construct for global energy cooperation. We've also been quite active and supportive of what's called the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, or CDRI. The Secretariat is here in New Delhi. And this is an important initiative, particularly in a region like South Asia, which is quite vulnerable to severe weather events prompted by climate change. The ambitious clean energy and climate targets set by South Asian countries provide a real opportunity for the SAREP Partnership Fund to fuel more innovation through market transformation to enable ambitious goals articulated by the countries in the region for enabling this clean energy transition that we often refer to. It will also enable countries in the region and individuals and institutions to learn from each other and to collaborate. And therefore, this call for application is inviting concepts initially for India-based initiatives with regional relevance. This is the first of 5 rounds of calls for applications that we plan under the SAREP Partnership Fund. And future rounds will focus on all 6 of the SAREP countries, including Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. You'll be learning more about the sort of the nuts and bolts, the details of the Partnership Fund from my colleagues and the SAREP team. But I wanted to take this opportunity to speak a bit about SAREP and U.S. objectives in South Asia, which we've invested heavily in and which we feel is a very important region of the world. USAID is looking forward to building on our past investments, our past successes, and our past partnerships, but also, as Nicole mentioned, to expand our work by collaborating with new partners. And we'll do this through advancing new technologies, through attracting financing, through partnering with the private sector, through focusing on renewable energy and energy efficiency procurement, and through regional energy cooperation, including enhancing the trade of electricity throughout South Asia. As a development organization, implementing clean and renewable energy and energy efficiency, USAID is also interested in inclusive economic growth that can be sustained over time. And this can manifest itself in different ways, but the following represents some general points for reflection. Reach out to youth to be an effective climate activists and spokespersons for clean energy. Involve women in clean and renewable energy and energy efficiency activities. Facilitate avenues for private sector and civil society engagement, and explore opportunities to leverage funding. Use the power of the market and seek to transform markets. Look to non-traditional partners. Promote regional cooperation within the Indo-Pacific region. Build greater comfort between and among government, private sector, and civil society. Celebrate success. There is a lot going well in India and all across South Asia today. Build on that success. Highlight the positive examples, support and complement current efforts, and create allies in the process so that we can all improve cooperation and coordination. For decades, USAID has remained a steadfast partner with the government of India and with governments throughout the South Asia region, with local communities, with the private sector, with civil society and the international community to address global climate change. This is true all across the SAREP countries, in Bangladesh and Bhutan, in India, Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. And we plan to continue scaling up our clean and renewable energy and energy efficiency activities well into the future. We welcome the opportunities for continued collaboration with many of you out there under the new SAREP Partnership Fund. Dhanyavad.
Thank you so much, John. Now I request Anurag Mishra from USA to please take the stage and share information on SAREP and the SAREP Partnership Fund. Mr. Mishra will hand over to Hira, who will elaborate on timelines and processes for the RFA. Anurag, please take over. I'll now mute myself and share my screen.
Thank you so much, Anindya, and good evening, good morning, everyone. Again, pleasure to be here and sharing more information about SAREP. John has already kind of provided a very good context for US government's engagement in this region and our partnership with the South Asian countries. Coming to next slide, please. The SAREP initiative, this is a new program which was started last year or this year, really focusing on enabling the transition to clean energy, covering the 6 countries, as John mentioned, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. And this is basically to look at the country priorities and also the climate change commitments made by these countries in this region. The objective, the goal is to be met through 4 technical objectives. I will get into a little more detail on these 4 objectives around regional energy cooperation and integration, the faster deployment of advanced clean energy solutions and systems, modernizing utilities for future, and also expanding the private sector participation in investments. Next slide, please. So looking at the first objective, which is aiming at facilitating the development of regional power markets, improve coordination and planning, strengthen national and regional institutions, which will be critical for enabling cross-border trade, bringing consensus among countries and different stakeholders, and also institutionalize support frameworks and mechanisms. The expected outcome is to really look at increased cross-border electricity trade in the region by transitioning to trilateral and multilateral power trade. We have seen there's already a bilateral trade happening in the region, and a more integrated grid in South Asia. And this will also help all the South Asian countries to scale the deployment of diverse and complementary renewable energy resources available with each of the countries, which can help this region to be more energy self-sufficient. Next slide, please. The second objective, which is again central to clean energy transition, will enhance and accelerate the deployment of clean energy technologies for transition to net zero emissions in our partner countries, but also kind of avoiding locking in long-term emission trajectories. As we understand, with the economic growth, all the countries are looking for new energy sources, and this is the right time to do that. This really covers a range of clean energy technologies such as renewable energy efficiency, energy storage, off-grid distributed renewable energy technologies, behind-the-meter technologies, smart appliances, electric vehicles, and so on. And these technologies have now become quite central to most of the South Asian countries' energy security, energy access, and economic growth strategies, while they also address the long-term threat of climate change in this region. The third objective, next slide, please, will enable the modernization of transmission, system operation, and distribution utilities in this region. And this is to improve their technical, financial, and operational performance, which has been one of the major concern and a challenge or barrier to a faster clean energy transition. But also look at grid resilience, improving customer service, promote adaptability to new technical advancements. And at the end, what we are looking for is more modern, financially viable utilities, which can enable energy transition, and also having efficient energy markets in this region. The fourth technical objective, next slide, please. It actually cuts across the three objectives to expand the private sector investment and enhance domestic and international finance for clean energy deployment. And SAREP will also enable improved procurement processes and governance, adoption of best value procurement practices, promote new innovative PPP models, and improve the bankability of clean energy projects. So these are the four kind of technical objectives of SAREP to achieve its primary goal of improving or helping countries transition to clean energy in South Asia. Next slide, please. And within these four objectives, as John was alluding to, the SAREP will also focus on expanding the private sector participation, increasing awareness and enabling gender and youth inclusion consideration in the energy sector, also looking at opportunities to reduce air pollution associated with the energy sector. So these are the technical areas on which SAREP is targeting its interventions. And it also, through this program, have set up a very kind of ambitious targets. If we come to the next slide, please. And these are really to look at real measurable results after 5 years, what SAREP would like to achieve. And these targets are really aligned to the policy priorities of the countries in the region. It expects to result in leveraging around $7 billion of investments, supporting deployment of 5 gigawatts of renewable energy, achieving 435 gigawatts hour of energy efficiency, and also facilitating cross-border trade. And these results will be critical for SAREP's success. And to complement the work which the SAREP is already doing as part of its technical assistance. Next slide, please. We are launching this new partnership fund. This $12 million partnership fund will support market-based solutions to enable clean energy transition by engaging the private sector in partnership with the governments as well as other host institutions in the region. The partnership fund will also harness innovative business models, solutions, new technologies, while leveraging resources, experiences, and networks of a variety of stakeholders working in this space in this region. So if you can come to the next slide. As John mentioned, we are really calling on a variety of organizations, including local, new, underutilized partners to submit applications for this first round of application. Next slide, please. So as illustrated on this slide, this partnership fund, it can support a range of activities, and it is not only the set of activities which we are anticipating to support, but it just gives kind of examples of what kind of activities which can be proposed for support under this partnership fund. And there can be a combination of these activities under a single proposal. Given that we have limited resources under this program and the large number of opportunities available in the region, quite a bit of transformational activities could be taken up. So it is not meant to really fund the routine activities of individual organizations, but rather support innovative interventions that can increase USAID's likelihood of making a lasting impact in South Asia and linking it back to the SAREP goals and objectives which we have. Next slide, please. So this is the first call for applications. Joel already mentioned, initially focus on India. We will also consider activities outside India to enable the objective one, which looks into cross-border trade and markets in this region. The future calls will support in-country activities in other SAREP countries as we go forward with this process. This is the first call. So finally, the next slide, please. I'll just close by re-emphasizing a few points. The SAREP Partnership Fund is looking at activities which are aligned to the SAREP's 4 objectives, which I described before. And it is looking for applications which are unique, have a demonstrated ability to achieve results at scale and sustainability, have high relevance and potential of scaling and replication across South Asia, and also able to leverage other public and private resources from different stakeholders. So with this, I'll conclude my first part of presentation looking into technical elements, and now pass it on to Hira from SAREP to take us through the process for SAREP Partnership Fund, its eligibility requirements, as well as timelines. Thank you. Over to you, Hira.
Thank you, Anurag. In the next few slides, hello everyone. In the next few slides, we will walk you through the RFA submission requirements and procedures and things to keep in mind while preparing and submitting the applications. This is very important because if the application is not in compliance with the RFA requirements, it cannot be considered for evaluation and award. Next slide, please. You can see the list of eligible and ineligible organizations on this slide. You may refer to section 5 of the RFA for detailed list. As Anurag mentioned, that local organizations, new and underutilized partners are encouraged to apply. Some of the ineligible activities include public international organizations like UN organizations, entities having previous record of misusing US government funds, political parties, organizations, or groups promoting illegal activities. Next, please. This slide covers the eligibility criteria, which is listed in section 5 of the RFA. I am citing just few examples from that. Some of the eligible organization should have no real or apparent conflict of interest, be legally authorized to operate in India, have sound financial systems, abide by all applicable regulations and required certifications, commit to secure a DUNS identification number. The complete list is there in the section 5 of the RFA. Next slide, please. Certain activities are ineligible under SAREP Partnership Fund. These are listed in section 4 of the RFA. We are not going in detail here, but I'll just cite few examples from that list. Supporting the expansion of capacity or extending the operational life of carbon-intensive fossil fuel-based energy projects, purchase of restricted and prohibited goods as per ADS 312, procuring of using certain covered telecommunication equipment or services in accordance with section 889 of the 2019 National Defense Authorization Act. I would highly recommend that you go thoroughly, through the RFA, review all the eligibility criteria and ineligibility activities very, very thoroughly before submitting your applications. Let's move on to the next important part of the RFA, the evaluation criteria. So the evaluation criteria are listed in section 6 of the RFA, apart from the initial screening process to ensure compliance with the RFA's submission requirements. The following process and evaluation criteria will be used to evaluate the applications. This is a 3-step evaluation process. Step 1 entails alignment with and relevance to the SAREP objectives, which Anurag described in detail. Step 2, the applications will be evaluated based on the 4 selection criteria that I will explain shortly. Step 3 entails discussions and negotiation with the shortlisted applicants. Next slide, please. So the first criteria is innovativeness of concept, which Anurag emphasized in his last slide. Here we will evaluate the extent to which the proposed activity not only demonstrates innovative or unique approaches, but also the efficiency of proposed solutions for achieving the desired results. This has 20% weight. Next, please. The second evaluation criteria is technical merit, carrying a weight of 50%. Under this, evaluation will be done on the quality and feasibility of the proposal, including the expected impact and its scale, soundness of the implementation plan and strategy, timeliness, sustainability beyond the grant support, funds leveraged from other partners, environmental sustainability and greenhouse mitigation potential, and return on investment. Next, please. The third evaluation criteria is organizational capability with 20% weight. We will evaluate if the application adequately demonstrates the organization's effectiveness in terms of internal structure, technical capacity, financial management capability, and personnel. Organizations also need to demonstrate understanding of local context and experience of working in the region. Next, please. The fourth and last evaluation criteria is commitment to gender diversity and inclusion that carries a weight of 10%. Here, we will evaluate the extent of integration of inclusion and gender mainstreaming in the proposed activities. Next, please. Let's move on to the application package now, which is part 9 of the RFA. All applications are required to complete and submit these 4 documents electronically. Grant application and award form, which has 2 parts to it, part 1 and part 2. The second important document is budget application and budget narrative, which is there as attachment A in the RFA. Third is simplified organizational control environment questionnaire, which is there as attachment B of in the RFA. And last is DUNS number, which is attachment C of the RFA. Please note that in accordance with ADS 302, the applicable standard provisions in ADS 303 are also applicable to all grants, grant award made under this RFA. The link of the standard provisions are provided in the RFA. Next, please. So the first set is budget and budget narrative, which is attachment A in the RFA. I just mentioned the budget should be detailed as per the form attached. It can be in Excel form or you can send it in PDF form as well. Each line item in the budget should have unit cost and number of units used. The budget should have a detailed narrative explaining how you have arrived at the figures for each cost. All direct costs for the program should be supported by current or historical cost. Amount of fund leveraged and their potential sources you should mention. There is a separate column for that. And as Anurag emphasized, this is very, very important for evaluation criteria as well. So that leverage is covered in the two sections, in the narrative section and also in the budget section. Please note that the lump sum budgets will be considered non-responsive and will be rejected. Next, please. So there are 2 parts of the application. The first part covers the basic information about the organization, name, address, DUNS number. And so I'll not go in detail of that, but the second part is very important. So let's go in detail of a little bit of detail of, through all the documents. In part 2, the following documents are required. The listed documents need to be attached along with the signed copy of part 1. So both the documents should be signed, the part 1 and part 2. First is the executive summary program description. The applicant must describe the project's goal, objective, brief problem statement that the award will focus, implementation plan, detailed activities, and anticipated outcomes and impact. Please note that it has to be aligned with SAREP objectives. Do mention the objective that will be addressed in your proposal. Your proposal can focus on more than one of the RFA's objectives listed in section 2. The program description must be result-oriented and aligned with the SAREP results. The results should be intended towards the measurable change in the condition of the beneficiary or change in the host country, institutions, or other entities that will affect the beneficiary. Also, please include how you are going to measure success of program and what will be the indicator of success. The indicator of success should be responsive to the selection criteria as outlined in the RFA. The application must include details of collaboration or partnership that results in additional resources being leveraged by SPF funding. In this section, you can include the innovativeness of the concept and organization's commitment to gender diversity and inclusion. The next document is implementation plan and strategy. You need to submit a Gantt chart along with the clear plan to demonstrate the approach to achieve the expected results and mitigation strategies. to address the anticipated risk. Please focus on specific activities, processes, strategies to be adopted to achieve the results. Next in line is sustainability plan. Describe how project activities will be sustained beyond USAID SAREP funding. M&E plan, monitoring and evaluation plan is very important, which is there in the as attachment D of the RFA. It should contain set of performance indicators and targets. Basically, a narrative description of how the grant will be monitored and evaluated, how the organization will use monitoring data to guide programming decisions and interventions, and alignment with SAREP indicators. You also need to attach a write-up on organizational capabilities, technical and management team descriptions. You should also, you'll have to include CVs of 2-3 key personnel. Important point to note here is if the applicant is proposing a partnership with other organizations, organizational and technical capabilities must be presented for each partner, and the management team description must demonstrate how the partnership will be effectively coordinated. Commitment letters detailing the scope and budget of each of the members is required. The emphasis will be given on the credentials of prime grantee along with the credentials of the consortium. Along with the other documents, you'll have to submit 3 past performance references with whom your organization has worked in the past 3 years. There is a table. You will have to complete that table, in the there and submit along with this past performance document. Anti-terrorism certification is a requirement of USAID and a condition of award that the applicant must certify that it does not support terrorism. Applicants unable to submit this signed certification will not be eligible for an award. For non-US organizations, registration documents required as per ADS 3110. Last but not the least, towards the end of part 2 of the application form, there is a certification that you must read carefully and sign. Please keep in mind that these documents are essential for technical assessment. Please follow the page limit for each section and document. Applicants must complete both parts, part 1 and part 2, and submit the signed copy of the application form. Next 2 documents, the questionnaire, the organizational control environment questionnaire, and DUNS number. The details are there in the RFA. For DUNS number is a unique 9-character number that identifies your organization. It is a tool of the federal government to track how federal money is distributed. The link to obtain the DUNS number is there in the RFA. Next, please. So this is the timeline, and all the applications need to be submitted electronically. Please mention main and alternate points of contact in your organization for this project. For questions and applications, there is only one email address which is mentioned in the RFA. The deadline for submission of questions is December 27th. So please go through the RFA, collect all your questions and send them to us in one email, referencing the RFA sections. The deadline for application submission is January 21st. Please submit all the required documents in one single email. It is preferable to zip the file. Thank you for allowing us to present the RFA for the SAREP project. It's a wonderful chance to be part of this funding opportunity, and I strongly encourage all of you to apply. Thank you very much. Over to you, Anindya.
Thank you so much, Hira and Anurag, for that deep dive presentation. Now I invite SAREP Chief of Party, Dr. Gaurav Bhatiani, for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Anindya. We are at the early stages of SAREP program. We started and kicked off the program this summer. And, having reached this point early in the program, I would say a lot of gratitude and support which we received from USAID team. Anurag, Apurva, Monali worked with us hand in hand. And that's why, we have the RFA launched so early in the program. RFA-SAREP Partnership Fund is all about partnerships. And therefore, I believe this is a wonderful opportunity, for all the potential applicants, to reach out and create innovative partnerships, talk to, counterparts in government, in private sector, academia, and so on, because we are seeing a lot of interest coming from various directions. And this in itself reflects, the ambitions which different countries have articulated, their net zero plans. We are just coming off the Glasgow Pact. So we're seeing immense interest from all directions. And therefore, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to leverage that interest, present innovative ideas, present partnerships, which can really help us in scaling, various technologies, solutions, business models, and so on. I want to say also that, we are really keen at this point, given that this is the first RFA, appetite is huge. So we will, do all we can from our end to support as many ideas, as many applications as possible, which fit with our evaluation criteria. Of course, it's a competitive process, and therefore, we will evaluate, we will rank proposals. So I request everyone to put their best foot forward and come out with ideas, which SAREP team would love to participate with. I want to end by thanking all the participants who are here today, who joined us. I know it's the beginning of the holiday season, and therefore we appreciate. We had, I think, over 100 participants throughout, this evening or morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. I also want to thank, John. I know you are on vacation, so really appreciate your taking time to be with us and articulating the US government position and USAID engagement in the entire region. And we are fully supportive from SAREP team. We are, very, very focused on delivering the results which will build on the foundation which USAID has, developed over several decades of engagement. And last but not the least, I want to thank Nicole and entire RTI SAREP team, worked tirelessly to get us to this point. And I'm sure we are looking at a very exciting, year ahead. And therefore, let me end by conveying my best wishes to everyone for a wonderful next year, 2022. Thank you, everyone. I know today we have not had an opportunity to do a Q&A, but there is a structured process as Apurva, as Anindya mentioned, and I encourage everyone to send in their questions, and we will respond and revert to you at the earliest. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a pleasant evening, day ahead, depending on where you are.
Namaskar. Thank you all.
Namaste.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.